Obviously, the NBA gambling scandal has taken the sports world by storm. Is it possible Steeler Nation is witnessing an NFL one in front of our very eyes? Big Deke News. Because how else is it possible for our defense to be this highly paid, yet perform so poorly, other than it being an inside job and defensive coordinator Terrell Austin betting our opponents' overs? Like, holy hell, Jets week 1, looking back. Justin Fields looking like prime Cam Newton and us giving up 30-plus points against the Jets. Look how bad they are right now. Last week, Joe Flacco in his second start with the Bengals off the streets. Looks like Joe Burrow healthy, 350, 3 touchdowns. Shit don't add up, man. How's our defense got all these good players, yet it's still so shitty? I joke. I'm joking. Terrell Austin ain't doing that. This was the low-hanging fruit for the intro, and I took it. I had to, but it's just all a joke. Want to make that clear. But that's the sad part, is that's what our defense has become, a freaking joke. How are we this bad and this inconsistent this year? Could go on another rant, but I've ranted enough about it this week. So we'll flip to the offense, especially, too, since I actually think our defense is going to play good this week. They're going to turn it around, bounce back game. And I'll probably say something like, we're back in my post-game report after we win. Our defense actually does halfway decent. So no need to talk about the defense anymore. Let's flip to the offense, which has some buzz going right now. Not necessarily about the guys in-house, but guys that we could bring in via trade. And let's start from the rumor from left field, even though this is something I did mention early in the season as a possibility and something the Steelers should look into. But because our running game has been so efficient over the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's been swept under the rug. But why not trade for a Breece Hall?
I think this will make the Steelers a favorite in the AFC North when you think about it. When you look at what they have at wide receiver with DK Metcalf, and when you look at what Breece Hall is, essentially, he's a combination of what they have in Caleb Johnson and also Kenneth Gainwell with a little bit of that Jaylen Warren, because he's a combination of all three.
Hall really is just an all-around really good running back in today's NFL. Can catch out the backfield. Also a physical runner in between the tackles, can take it to the house, fast, efficient, do it all. And he's got the familiarity with Aaron Rodgers. So why not? I mean, he's on the last year of his deal with the Jets. Jets are terrible. You know, they're going to be trying to offload some players probably and rebuild. What's it going to hurt? I get it could mess up the running back room dynamic a little bit, because you could argue Breece Hall has a little bit more cachet than the guys that we have, given that he was a second-round pick. Kenneth Gainwell was just a third-down running back with the Eagles, scat back type of dude. Jaylen Warren, undrafted free agent, has worked his way up to be a lead back. So there's more, again, cachet to Breece Hall's name and what he brings to the table, and probably a little bit more proven up to this point as an every down back compared to what we have. So it could be a weird dynamic given Jaylen Warren's ascension and how good Kenneth Gainwell has been playing for us in spots this year. But why not add the extra depth? Why not? If it takes a late round pick to get him, a 6th round pick, 5th round pick, I don't think it would hurt, especially with all these extra draft picks we have in 2026. Be an upgrade over Caleb Johnson, at least as our third guy in the room. I mean, you could argue he'd be an upgrade over the 2 guys that we have in Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell. I'm not going that far with the Jaylen Warren comparison and saying Breece Hall over Jaylen Warren right now, because we love Jaylen Warren. We've just been thinking he needs to be getting the ball more with these past seasons, splitting the backfield with Najee Harris. Now he is getting the ball more, and he's obviously proven that he can be an RB1. But Breece Hall has been that RB1 with the Jets over the last however many seasons when healthy, and when he gets the ball, I mean, he's productive, efficient, all that stuff. I wouldn't mind it. I definitely wouldn't mind it. I could see us overlooking this one, though. This is probably, in terms of a trade, would be on the bottom of the totem pole in terms of priorities. This would just be a luxury. Just don't overlook it. That's all I'm saying. Because we're definitely looking at receiver first, and then you can argue about adding a piece to the secondary, even though I don't think that's going to happen with us already having Ramsey, Slay, Eccles, JPJ, and a multitude of safeties already in-house. I think we're set on defense. I don't really think a move's going to happen, even if you argue that we could make one. It's just not happening. It's not. If anything, I could see us bumping up someone like Corey Trice when he gets healthy and giving him a more prominent role as opposed to going out and trading for someone. Now, definitely receiver. We've been talking about receiver ad nauseum going back to last offseason in terms of trying to add another guy, add that wide receiver 2, add another outside threat to complement our wide receiver 1, whether it was Pickens last year and Metcalf this year. And those rumors aren't stopping. They continue the closer we get to this trade deadline. Multiple guys, multiple outlets are talking about the Steelers scouring the market. First, Jeremy Fowler named Jaylen Waddle, Chris Olave, and Jacoby Myers as trade fit candidates for the Pittsburgh Steelers in one of his recent articles. You also got today Tony Pauline reporting that the Steelers are looking into Calvin Ridley. That's been a name that hasn't been mentioned as often, still been floated out there. But Calvin Ridley and also Jaylen Waddle as names that Steelers are doing their research on. So I like that. I mean, the possibility of Jaylen Waddle being traded has been poo-pooed by a lot of reporters. They say that Miami's taking calls on him, but it's not likely that he's going to be traded. But as they continue to lose week in and week out and their record gets worse and the vibes get lower and lower down there, I'm starting to think the chances would increase that they would move off of a Jaylen Waddle if the price is good enough. Like, why not? And then Calvin Ridley with the Titans, same scenario. Titans are dismal right now. Vibes are terrible. They're tanking. They're in that type of mode. They already fired their head coach. Calvin Ridley's got a decent contract that I'm sure they would like to unload. If it took a late round pick to get Ridley off of the Titans' hands, I'm sure that would get it done. And I think for the Steelers, that would be a fair deal. That would be something that upgrades our receiver room because Calvin Ridley is a really solid player. 1,000-yard receiver, good route runner, good down the field threat. Just all around solid. Good wide receiver too. Good insurance if DK Metcalf got hurt. Could get you out of a stadium for a few weeks as a low-end wide receiver 1. I would have no problem with Calvin Ridley. Let's do an updated power ranking, though, on these receivers because a lot of names are being thrown out there. I would say Garrett Wilson 1 still, if he's legitimately available. Garrett Wilson 1, familiarity with Rodgers, think he's probably the best receiver that's out there, potentially available via trade. Because I don't think A.J. Brown's getting traded, and I don't even know if he would be as good of a fit as Garrett Wilson anyway. So Garrett Wilson 1. 2 would be Jaylen Waddle. 3, Olave. 4 would be Calvin Ridley. I'd maybe go Shaheed over Ridley, and then Jacoby Myers last from that group. And then you got other names like Lazard. There's definitely some other trade candidates out there that aren't as exciting that clearly would be a tier below the names that I just mentioned. But last report that's out there in terms of these names and likelihood of them being traded, it's Jordan Schultz. A lot of teams are checking in on the Saints on Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, and he makes it clear as to why they could be available. It's because both of them are going to be due for a contract coming up, and with the Saints not being that good, the likelihood of them paying both isn't that high. So one of them could be shipped here soon with the trade deadline coming up. And obviously the Steelers are a name that's been looking at receiver. Those names have been linked to the Steelers, whether it's going back to the offseason with Chris Olave or more recently with Rashid Shaheed. So it's the same names, really. I'm not giving you guys any new information. I think it's just further confirmation that these names are out there. Steelers still interested in receiver. You know Omar Khan's cooking. You know Omar Khan's looking into all this stuff. So watch out. We got about 2 weeks, a week and a half before the trade deadline. It's going to be the first week in November. I forget the exact date. It's November 2nd. I want to say November 2nd off the top of my head. I'll throw an update in the edit here if I'm wrong. But that's it for today's show. We're just going to stick with that, stick with kind of like the trade rumors and stuff. And then tomorrow, we got the Steelers-Packers preview. I already got some bets in. I got some picks. I got some predictions for the game coming up. So preview tomorrow. I think this is it for the Friday show. Everyone have a safe weekend out there. Like I said, I'll see you tomorrow with the preview show. Stay chilling. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.